year of my college, and I'm working on my I have completed with my academics now, and I'm based in Ahmedabad in Gujarat. So yeah, and I'm aspiring to join TCS because I am very much interested in all new technologies coming up, the cloud and everything. And I have experience, like I have done few projects in my college also on the base on the on same, like using Spring Boot technology and everything. I have done projects on that. So I'm likely to I'm aspiring to start my career in same. Yeah, so that's.
So can you give insight of what projects you have done? Just a brief.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, we had created one application a web-based application using Spring Boot, a Java Spring Boot. So in that application basically it focused on like it was for students of our college itself. So for finding like generating few questions for them from the academics, like whatever is the curriculum. On the basis of that. The questions we're generating. So if we are providing certain parameters, like which kind of questions we want, like coding based questions, of course, pattern generation, trivial, from starting from basic questions like pattern generation questions to some problem solving questions like entity involved questions. So this questions basically involved array, the concept of arrays, and then concept of basic array and array list. So such kind of questions were generated, not the solution. So these questions were given to the participants or to the students for practice.
So what was your front end and your like how did you design the whole application?
So front end we have designed it in using this JSP servlets, okay, and then in the database we are using Oracle database for that. And then the entire application, like it is deployed on the system, like on the server. So it is server based, but it is available on the intranet on our college system itself. So the WAR file is created, and then we have deployed it in that way. And as such, it is not very much like user based. Just now, whosoever is executing it accordingly, that user can access that particular application. In front end, we have used JSP servlets, and along with that, we have used Spring Boot technology also in that.
So can we have a brief on Spring Boot? So
Yes, sure.
you're okay with that?
Yes, definitely.
Can you give me a few features of Spring Boot? What are the main features?
Okay. So if we talk about Spring Boot, main features, like it provides the extensive CLI, which allows us to it allows us to write and it avoid with application in Spring Boot, and which avoids the boilerplate code. Okay, so that is the main thing. And then starter dependency. So auto configuration and starter dependency is also one of the main feature which is provided. So what is auto configuration? We can say that it helps in loading the configuration file automatically. Okay, so that is very good feature about this Spring Boot. And then dependency, the starter dependency. With help of this feature, we can create, we can have the dependencies to get together. We can even like we can aggregate the common dependencies, we can bind it together, and which provides the good productivity. Apart from that, we have in Spring Boot, another feature is it provides Spring Initializer. It means that whenever we talk about any web application, we can have internal project also, right? Like just the application which I explained. So we don't have to manually create the entire structure of the project, but the Spring Initializer will actually help us in providing the entire structure of that particular project. And then we have another feature like Spring Accurator. So this feature is basically used to execute or to run all the Spring Boot application. And apart from that, the security, the logging and security feature, which ensures that all the whatever application is there which we are creating in Spring Boot, it is secured without any hassle. So these are the main features: configuration, auto configuration, initializer, Spring initializer, and we can say Spring accurator, and the Spring CLI, the main thing which it provides.
Do we have any server embedded in Spring Boot? Is it available, or we have to deploy applications always on an external server?
Maven, we can have Maven server, like our Spring Boot application, we can have on Maven server.
What are the advantages of Spring Boot over Spring? Like you have explained, what are the features of Spring Boot, but how is it different from Spring Framework?
Yes, so see, Spring, as you just told, it is a framework, right? And Spring Boot is a, we can say, a module basically. Okay, so it and the advantage is, the main advantages of Spring Boot over the entire Spring framework is, the Spring framework is bit complex, but here in Spring Boot, what happens? Everything is available in modules. So whatever features or whatever we can say particular features which we want according to our project or our requirement, we can implement it, right? So it, the main feature which is most widely used is auto configuration. So it provides the auto configuration features which help us to load all the default configuration files, okay, automatically. We don't have to explicitly do that. Then it helps in creating a standalone application with a range of non-functional features as well. And apart from that, it Spring Boot provides an opaque, it provides a uh, specific view to reduce the developer effort, and it is very much simplified if we are using it with Maven. So whenever we are using whenever we are creating a Spring Boot application, and then if we are using a Maven, it becomes very easy for us to manage the entire project. Also, it comes with different starters. Okay, Spring Boot comes with different starter, and this starters ensures the dependency which is there. So internal dependency would be always there on some or the other files, right? So dependency management is taken care by this starters. And apart from that, the API, various APIs are monitor and managing the application in Spring Boot is in different environments like production environment and development environment and testing environment. It is very easily manageable. So the entire system, the ecosystem, we can entire Spring Boot, we can integrate it with say JDBC or with another any say Spring ORM or Spring Security, Spring Data. So we can integrate it very easily using Spring Boot. So that these are
You
the
mentioned Spring Boot starters. So can you name some of them and what is their functionality? If you can give few examples.
sure. So see, as I just told, Spring Boot starter are basically the starters, or they are the the set which is used, or which is very widely used because it provides a convenient dependency management. The main feature of the starter is it provides the dependency management is taken care by the starters. Okay, so it provides the dependency management so that we can it can be used easily in the applications. These starters the starters we can develop, and they can make the work very easy, and we can
Yeah,
do
yeah. But I am asking specific example. Can you give me name
yes,
any?
yes, sure. So the different type of starters are, we have JDBC starter, web starter, then we have data JPA security starter. So as Spring Boot JDBC starter, so this starter will help, it is used to connect to the JDBC pool. Similarly, Spring Boot starter web. So this starter will help us to connect with the web application. You say, then it can include your RESTful services also. It can be your Spring MVC. So to connect with the web application, this web starter is used. Then Spring Boot starter data JPA. This is another starter. It is used to, for Spring data JPA. So it is used for connecting with JPA and with the Hibernate. Then there is a for security, there is a Spring Boot starter security. It is a starter used for Spring security. Then similarly, we have AOP. So the Spring Boot starter AOP. So this starter is used for aspect oriented programming. whenever we are with Aspect and Spring AOP, if we are using Spring AOP framework. And then Spring Boot starter test. So this starter is used for testing the Spring Boot exam applications. Yes, so that's
If I ask you to explain the process, how you will create a simple Spring Boot project using Spring Initializer. So what are the different steps? How I want you to just tell me all the steps to bring to build a web app and connect with the database. Any database you can think of.
okay. Yes. So we can definitely we can connect to multiple like various databases. Okay, using Spring Boot applications. So Spring Boot starter, which we as I just told you, we will need a Spring Boot starter project, and it will require few library files also. So I will give you the example of MySQL. Okay, so if we want to connect it with MySQL, so first of all, we have to create our database in our whatever database we are using. So first step is to create a database in our MySQL. So we will do that. Then after doing that, we have to create whatever tables and everything we want to create in our this thing, databases. Okay, so that is done. Now coming to the Spring Boot side. So now in Spring Boot project, we require the details. Okay, so firstly, we need a JDBC and MySQL, JDBC, MySQL, and web dependencies to be added. Okay, in our Spring Boot application. After that, once the project is created with this dependencies, we have to configure it. Okay, so for configure, we have to configure it into the application properties. So for that, I will just tell you that how we can configure like stepwise. Like first, we have to configure the details of MySQL. So whatever is the path, we have to give the path of our database. We have to give the username, password, and these details we have to configure in our application properties file. Okay, so for that in Spring, in application property file, we have to write spring.datasource.url, which will in that URL we have to mention our URL of our database, and then spring.datasource.username and spring.datasource.password. So this thing is for MySQL. Then secondly, we need the packages. Okay, so we need the packages which we are going to use for our this thing for JDBC. So for that, we have to import in our Spring project. We have to import the Spring application and Spring Boot application, auto configure Spring Boot application. Okay, so we have to use the annotation Spring Boot application, and using that annotation, we have to we have to call the run method, which will actually execute, or which will actually load your database. So the method to run that particular, or to call the run method, is spring application dot run. Okay, spring application dot run, and then in that we have to mention our spring application class name and the argument which we want to pass. Then next thing is, the next step is to create a controller to handle the HTTP request. Okay, so how to create a controller? So for that we can create a REST controller. Okay, so we have to use the annotation REST controller, and we need a request map, annotation request mapping. So these two annotations we would be using to create the controller. Now in this request mapping, we have to call the execute method. Okay, in the execute method, we have to call like in the execute method, we have to actually write our whatever queries we want to fire on our database. So whatever your DML queries are there, like insert query, update query. Okay, so in the request mapping, there is a method called as a public string index. Okay, so in this method, we have to write our query like jdbc.execute. In this, we have to write the query, insert into whatever table we want to insert it into. And then finally, if it is, executed properly, we have to return a message, because see, I just told you we have to write a method index. So this index method will return a string. So if this execute method is executed correctly, or it is firing the query correctly, it will return us the string, and we have to return a string message to the user. So in finally we have to return a string to the controller. So it can be like data entered successfully, or executed query successfully. And finally, final step is we have to execute this project as a Java application. So for that, how are we going to do? So on our local host, we will, like on our browser local host, we will execute it, and we will enter the details and then check whether the details are getting inserted in the table. Or I hope
Yes.
I was able
Yeah.
to explain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
Okay.
Okay. So you mentioned Spring Boot application annotation, right? So can you explain to me uh, the what are the different annotations attached to the same, and how can you explain it in detail?
Yes. So see, Spring Boot annotation application. Sorry, annotation Spring Boot application. So this annotation is okay. So different annotations are used in Spring Boot, which basically help to make our like whatever Spring Boot module flexible using this. Okay. So Spring Boot application allows this annotations allows us to uh, run the, or like we can say it allows a user, or it allows the and it allows the features like auto configuration and like auto configuration feature it will allow. And so how do you do the auto configuration? So using the annotation enable auto configuration, it will allow you to do the auto configuration, that is whatever default files which we need to load, that would be loaded using auto configuration. Similarly, using this single annotation Spring Boot application, this annotation is equivalent of using annotation configuration, annotation enable auto configuration, and annotation component scan. Okay, so whatever is their default value, that would be loaded. So we don't have to write all the three different annotations, but instead of that, we can directly write a single annotation, Spring Boot annotation. And as I just told you, it will load all the default configuration file and the setup of the project. So using this single Spring Boot annotation, all the three, features we can include in our project.
So suppose if I have written a piece of code, and if I want to automatically do the deployment and compilation of the code, instead of every time hitting on run as Spring Boot application or run as Java application. So is there, what is the different, what is the feature provided by Spring Boot for that?
So for that only we have this auto wire. Okay, so for that we have auto wire, auto wire, just auto wire.
Have you heard of DevTools?
Yes, so okay, can you just come again?
Yeah, I just wanted to know the need for Spring Boot DevTools in another way, if I put it. If
Okay,
it's okay, I think
DevTools. Okay, okay, got it. Spring Boot DevTools. Okay. So basically, they are the okay. So development tools. So Spring Boot development tools are elaborated set of tools. Okay, and it as you just mentioned that if we want to automatically execute the application, like instead of every time going and doing run as application, we want to configure it automatically. Then using this development tools, we can do that. So for that, in our application configuration file, we have to write one tag. Okay, so the tag name is dependency, and in that we have to write. We have to include this DevTools. Okay, so in dependency, we have to write the artifact ID DevTools, and we have to include this dependency. So if we are doing that, automatically, what will happen is our program would be executed.
Thank you, Neha. Vishal, I am done from TRN.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Spradha. So Neha, yeah, I was just observing your technical interview, and definitely see you do have a real good expertise in Spring Boot. Okay. Yeah, I have few other questions, may not be directly related to the technology side. Uh, can you tell us about your non-academic achievements?
Okay, sure. So non-academic achievements, if we talk about, so see in like in the college itself, like you must be aware there are few events happening, and every year we have a tech festival and everything. So in that also actively I have participated in those all events as well. And in this this year itself, in the month of February itself, when there was an event, so I had participated in the like I was actually the in the key team of the organizing, the treasure hunt event and these all events, which, and then I have also received the appreciation for same from my the department. So yeah, and apart from that, every time like whenever there are some uh, so such kind of functions or whatever functions happening in our college, definitely I'm taking active part in that. So this is something which is there. Yeah, so that's it probably.
Okay, thanks. What about your hobbies?
Okay, yeah, so if we talk about the hobbies, yeah, so uh, yeah, so I hobbies like I like to play I like to play badminton a lot. So that is one of my, or it is like a stress buster for me. Okay, so whenever after, so but then yeah, it's not very much that I'm into it because of such a hectic routine. Yeah, but yeah, this is something which I like. Yeah, so that's it.
All right, okay. So Neha, you mentioned about some project which you have done with Spring Boot. Okay, when technical questions were asked. So was it like you were the only one involved, or there was a small team and the entire team has done that project?
So it was a team project. Okay, so we were a group of five people, like members in it, and then of course we had divided the task among ourselves. So my contribution, you can say, mainly was on the front end side, as I just mentioned,
Mhm.
like developing the web pages and integrating Spring Boot application. So we were a group of five. It was a team project.
Okay. So I want to know this, when let's say you are working in a group, a lot of your code, your artifacts you need to share with each other, okay, to build the final project. How did you do that? Did you leverage some tools, or it was just like copy paste, putting like placing in this folder and all that?
You see, honestly telling you, we definitely we had a support from our teachers and everyone, but then we didn't had any readily tool available. Okay, so initially we were struggling a lot because of this thing, the integration, when the integration part actually came in. So yeah, then later on we studied about Visual Studio, like how we can do that SVN we came to know, but then we had few limitations, okay, from our internal, so like limitation as in we could not integrate everything using that. So what at the end we were able to do is we were actually manually, like using our devices, storage devices, we were actually doing it. And we realized it after like later we realized it that if it would have been better if we were able to use some tool, like SVN. We came to know about it, SVN, but then we were not able to use it very much in our project. But then we integrated it using our media devices only, and then finally on one system we did it everything, because we were given the lab facility and everything in our college properly. So mostly we were doing it in that way only.
Okay. Did you guys had GitHub access?
GitHub access, no, actually we so one of my team member, he had, I think, researched on that and he told us, but then like we were already into it and then we had started doing that, so we could not actually shift to do that, or we could not put everything on GitHub. So yeah, but we came to know about GitHub also, but we could not implement. So
Okay.
I didn't have the access of that.
Okay. Okay. How about your internships? Say, let's say right now you are in final year. So in your previous semesters, have you done some short-term or a bit long-term kind of internships in any of the companies around?
Yes, yes. So internships, So I had done like 2 internships in my final years. Final year I did it, and in my last year also I had done one internship. So in that office, like where I was going, it was a local company only here itself in Ahmedabad. So over there, they were using SVN only. Okay, taught by
Okay.
SVN they were
Mhm,
using, and then using this tool itself, the version is maintained, and everyone in the team was using that. So yeah, I have experience of that. But then to make everything work here in as a students in a team, like in a college, it was a different thing, and then in a project in a company, because there we are already the people, or the people who were actually working on it, and the professional who had good experience, so they were able to help us out over there. But here, yeah, we did it by ourselves, so like that was the difference.
Okay. Good. What now? Spring Boot is, let's say you have a reasonable expertise. What next? What is your learning goal now from here?
Yes, so see, learning goal from here, we can say that something which is some I am fascinated about, or is something that is the cloud technologies which are currently going on. So if we talk about AWS cloud, so doing courses in that, or maybe Azure. So I'm thinking of that, like moving towards a cloud technologies, or how we can actually migrate everything on cloud, and how we can use it in our daily our daily applications, how it is useful. So that is something which is I'm interested in.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned AWS. So have you started studying something, or you are planning to start with?
No, means not like I have not actually started with anything, but I'm going through few videos online which are available, but I have not yet signed up for that AWS account and everything. But yeah, I have started doing research that what can I do, because there are so many things in AWS also, right? So what can I do, or in which particular thing I can do certification? So that research work
Okay.
is basically going on right.
Okay. Okay. Fine. You want to share about other challenges, when you worked in a team, apart from, what you have highlighted, that without any SVN or that kind of version control tool, you had to struggle a lot, putting things together. Apart from that, what other challenges you faced while working in a team?
Yes. So, so apart from one thing, as I just told you about this version control, and apart from this, what we had faced, the another thing is we had to regularly take the backup also. Okay, so backup in the sense, not just like if I'm doing my work for integration purpose, but regular backup because of the issues which maybe in our lab, because we had, or if we are working somewhere else, then how can we get our work there? So I think again we come to the same point, that version control. thing. And the another challenge which majorly we were facing, that initially to understand, like when we talk about the project, the structure, the entire structure, we were like first we divided, like first we decided the classes and the tables, the database and everything. And then when we actually started, okay, many things changed. So later on, ongoing, like we can say that it's not that once we freeze everything and we have to follow it step by step. Okay, so the changes or the designing part which was there, not just the front end designing, the entire structure, the project structure, that was ongoing. Okay, so then later on, what approach we had followed is we were using this online. There is one tool, okay, which just maintains our notes, like our if we talk about for agile, we had learned something about agile, like we heard about agile, like where we have to maintain our daily tracker kind of a thing. Okay, so we started noting down the activities using that tool. And then in that we used to keep the notes that okay, these all tasks we have designed, or these are tasks we have formed. And then on the daily basis we were again ensure, like we were checking whether that is happening in a proper way or not. Because that was a challenge which we were facing, because some tasks used to take maybe more or time than what we had actually thought of thought. So then it was getting delayed. So then we had to maintain a different tracker to keep the track of the task which we had planned. So this was something which we also realized later, that we need a proper, time, like for each and every task, there should be a proper time management also, which we should be doing.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Uh, Final question, Neha. Where do you see yourself 20 years from now?
20 years from now, yeah. So definitely, yeah. So I can say that 20 years from now, it would be like I just like I aspire to be some good in some professional any some technology, which again it is very difficult in this field, okay, to say that okay in which technology I can would be. But what in whichever technology or in whichever field probably I am, yeah, but at least I am at that much competent that I'm able to deliver whatever is the expectation, and along with that I'm able to balance all the things and able to deliver whatever my task or whatever my the goals which will be given to me. But then field it is very vibrant, or we can say it is very dynamic to decide that exactly I would be in which. Because for me the way the things are changing, like whatever I am observing right now, it is difficult for to predict after 20 years in which field I would be. But wherever it is, I just the thing, the expectation or what I have set for myself is I should be able to deliver whatever is the expectation from that particular role. So yeah, that is what I would say. So that's
All
it.
right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Neha.
Thank you.
Any questions from your side for us?
Yes, so as such, I know a lot about, like TCS or everything. I have heard a lot in media also, we come to know. But personally, I wanted to ask that as a fresher, okay, as a fresher, when I'm joining TCS, what all opportunities, or not exactly the opportunity, what all different, option as a fresher I will get, or, in brief, can you just tell me that what all different options I would be getting as a fresher in TCS, not just technical side, if anything else, or is there any other streams or options for my career available
Sure.
specifically? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll share few. Then, Sprada, you can add on the top. If you would like to share something. Uh, so Neha, see, freshers when they join TCS, now the entire freshers hiring is determined by business requirements. Okay, the way business is shaping that, on that basis, what kind of technology expertise is required, that is the base on which freshers are hired. Okay. Now, yes, same thing on those grounds, you will be trained, okay, and you will be assigned your first project. Correct. But before you join TCS, we also have TCS Explore program. Okay, now TCS Explore program focuses on foundation building, basically programming, user interface, SQL, Unix operating system, okay, IT infrastructure. This is foundation, correct? Now, every fresher, we expect that they should put enough effort to clear that foundation training even before they join TCS. There will be proctored assessments and you can clear, and there are some excellent incentives also connected with clearing that Explore program. Okay. In case associate has not cleared Explore and because of business requirement they join, yeah, we will take care of that foundation part, which will be through your initial learning for couple of weeks or like 3 to 4 weeks. Okay. But that is only foundation. So don't take it this way that foundation has Java, you have chosen Java, so your entire career will be on Java. No, the IT business does not work that way. All right. Once you join, your project unit will decide on the advanced technologies you need to be groomed after these foundation technologies, and then you start with your first project. Okay. Now, your second question, what is in the store for a fresher? See, so far I only mentioned what TCS expects from a fresher. Is this alignment to accept whatever technology business demands you to be groomed and start working in that project? That is the expectation. Now, what is in the store for a fresher? Sky is the limit. Okay. Why I'm saying that? Let's say you just mentioned you aspire to learn a lot of cloud technologies. All right. You join TCS, correct? Let's say you are trained in Java. Your project would want you to take up, let's say, Spring Boot, because, let's say project has some data, you have very good expertise in Spring Boot. Okay. So you start working in Spring Boot project, right? But your aspiration is cloud technologies. In TCS, you have nearly infinite opportunities where you can upskill on any technology, including cloud. Okay. You will get the best of learning resources like LinkedIn, Udemy, and lot more, which are the best learning channels available. Okay. Lot of things are there. Let's say free access to entire Microsoft Azure cloud learning system, which is there. Google Cloud Learning, everything is free. Key certifications are also free for TCSers, correct? So from learning and building expertise based on your aspiration, sky is the limit. Okay. And see, you will also agree to this point that learning is a gradual process. It takes certain years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and so on. Okay. And TCS also appreciates your learning efforts. We have our internal initiatives where just based on your learning and expertise, you can get higher career benefits, including compensation. All right. So when you are joining TCS, yes, first is that alignment we expect from every fresher, that this is the project you are going to work with. This is where the business wants you to perform. Align with that. And second, whatever is your aspiration, leverage all this entire huge platform which we have on learning, and you can grow on your aspiration gradually.